We are live.
नमस्कार मंडळी, मी उल्का नगरकर, महाराष्ट्र मंडळ शिकागो 2022 ची अध्यक्ष तुमच्या सगळ्यांचं आजच्या भ्रमणगाथा या सेशन मध्ये स्वागत करते. गेले 10 महिने आपण वेगवेगळ्या देशांची भ्रमंती केली. त्याचप्रमाणे अमेरिकेमध्ये देखील वेगवेगळी शहरं किंवा गावं यांची भ्रमंती केली. तर आज आपल्यासाठी काय वेगळा देश किंवा वेगळा भूभाग घेऊन आले भ्रमणगाथा ते पाहूया पुढच्या या आजच्या सेशन मध्ये. तर आजच्या या सत्राची सूत्र हाती घ्यावी अशी मी कविता कुलकर्णी हिला विनंती करते. धन्यवाद.
थँक्स उल्का. हॅपी दिवाळी सगळ्या मेंबर्सला आपल्या. आणि भ्रमणगाथाच्या ऑक्टोबर महिन्याच्या सेशन मध्ये आपल्या सगळ्यांचं मी स्वागत करते. आज आपल्या भ्रमणगाथाचे ग्रुप मेंबर अनघा आणि मंदार आपल्याला इजिप्त आणि जॉर्डनची व्हर्च्युअल ट्रिप घडवणार आहेत. त्या दोघांनाही भयंकर प्रवासाची आवड आहे. अनघा अनेक वेळा सोलो ट्रिप्सवरही जात असते. आज आपण त्यांच्याकडूनच या दोन्ही देशांबद्दल जास्त जाणून घेऊया. आजचं हे सेशन आपलं प्रथमच प्री रेकॉर्डेड आहे. तर आपण हे पाहूया आणि एकदा सेशन झाल्यानंतर तुम्हाला काही प्रश्न असतील तर अनघा तुमच्या प्रश्नांची उत्तरं देईल. थँक्यू. प्रसाद, प्लीज स्टार्ट द सेशन.
हॅलो, मी अनघा देऊळकर
आणि मी मंदार देऊळकर.
आणि आम्ही आज इजिप्त आणि जॉर्डन बद्दल बोलणार आहोत. सो लेट मी स्टार्ट शेअरिंग स्क्रीन. I hope तुम्हाला दिसतंय. So we are going to talk today about Egypt and Jordan. सगळ्यात प्रथम सर्वांना दिवाळीच्या खूप खूप शुभेच्छा. तुम्हाला सर्वांना ही दिवाळी सुख समृद्धी आणि शांतीची जावो हीच ईश्वरचरणी प्रार्थना. हॅपी दिवाळी. ह्या प्रेझेंटेशन मध्ये वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द टूर दॅट वी टूक इन ऑक्टोबर 2021 by Travel Talk Tours, and by the end of this presentation we'll have a better understanding of the places that we saw in both countries, and you'll get a first-hand view of somebody who has been there and visited these countries. So why Egypt and Jordan? Egypt has the most archaeological artifacts than any other country in the world. Jordan त्याचा neighbor आहे, and both countries have wonders of the world. The best time to visit is between October and April. Summers hot असू शकतात तिथे, त्यामुळे most people do not visit during summer time. Although if you visit in the summer there will be lesser crowds, and there is supposed to be a breeze on the Nile in summertime, which makes cruising a very viable option. And also the prices are cheaper during summer. Best ways to travel. आम्ही round trip घेतली होती with Royal Jordanian, and then we took another flight from Amman to Cairo, and we started our tour in Cairo. Most public places in Cairo, or even in all of Egypt, including the station names, are in Arabic. Not many people have used spoken English, so be aware of the language barrier in those countries. Since the boards are in Arabic, आपल्याला कळतच नाही रात्री ट्रेन मध्ये आपण कुठे आहोत. So that's important to know. So that's why tour worked out very well for us. आम्ही दोनदा ट्रेन घेतली. We traveled by train from Cairo to Aswan, and coming back we traveled by train from Luxor to Cairo. So this is the Egypt map, just to give an idea about Egypt, where the major cities are located and how the Nile runs. Within Egypt, the southern part of the Nile ends in man-made Nasser Lake, as you can see here. Man-made Nasser Lake. It's a transcontinental country. The Saqqara pyramids, फर्स्ट डेला आम्ही कायरो वरून बस घेऊन आम्ही सकारा पिरामिड्सला व्हिजिट केली. The cost of entering is about 200 Egyptian pounds. So it is located in Lower Egypt. Now the thing to consider is the northern side of Egypt is considered as a Lower Egypt, and the southern side of Egypt is considered to be Upper Egypt. So this is interesting because the Nile runs from south to north. The step pyramid or the pyramid of Dosar, मागे जो मंदारच्या मागे जो दिसतोय, so that is the one. It is the oldest pyramid and constructed by Imhotep. The pyramid is 4,700 years old. It's even older than the Pyramid of Giza, which are 4,500 years old. So it is the oldest pyramid. So you have to see that when you go there. The Saqqara pyramid complex मध्ये बरेचसे tombs आहेत. So these are the tombs that we went to. The Saqqara, however, is the oldest. It's a six-tier, four-sided structure. It was built in the 27th century BC. Like I said, it's a burial for Pharaoh Dosar. The pyramid is the central feature of it's a complex of many burial sites. So that's important to know. Imhotep, the architect of this pyramid, was the chancellor of the pharaoh and high priest of the god Ra. God Ra is the sun god. सॉरी, तुम्हाला बॅकग्राऊंड मध्ये माझ्या कुत्र्याचा आवाज येत असेल, सो सॉरी अबाउट दॅट. ह्या पिक्चर मध्ये आहे द शाफ्ट tomb, which is also in the complex, Saqqara complex. And this is some information of the tombs that we saw. So what's interesting about these tombs are there are a lot of paintings inside these tombs, which are a lot of them are in excellent condition. The purpose of the paintings was to help create a pleasant life after death for the pharaoh. The paintings depict gods, humans, heroic battles that were fought by the pharaoh, scenes from life, like इथे तुम्हाला दिसते, there is fishing, they are fishing, or they could be, doing agriculture or farming. So those kinds of scenes, hunting, those are very commonly seen. So what is in the Egyptian tombs? The mummy in the sarcophagus, the jars that contain the organs of the dead. हे तुम्हाला जे structure दिसतं इथे, that's the cherub. And so they had amulets in the shape of cherub beetles because Egyptians believed that the sun died each night and he reborn hoto next day as a cherub. So it's cherub is considered to be a symbol of good luck for Egyptians. And the Ushabati figures, these are the Ushabati figures that were the help that the pharaohs would need in their afterlife. So they took their people that would help them with in their afterlife. Other than that, you could see wall paintings, spell and curse books, to keep the robbers away, those kinds of things. And of course, statues of Egyptian gods. This slide is for the pyramids of Giza, or the pyramid, Giza pyramid complex. It has three main pyramids: the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Pyramid of Khafra, and the Pyramid of Menkaure. All of these were built in by the fourth dynasty of the Old Kingdom of ancient Egypt between 2600 and 2500 BC. Pyramids are one of the biggest reasons why people go to Egypt. It was the biggest reasons for us as well. This site also includes several cemeteries and remains of the workers in the village. The Pyramid of Khafra, la original cladding आहे limestone at the top. It's right behind the Sphinx. So that is very interesting. That's the original cladding. That's the only pyramid that has it. So it's very special about that pyramid. Another thing is was interesting to me. The guide was telling us was many people believe that the pyramids were kind of built by slaves. They were not paid. Uh, but according to our guide, the pyramids were the people who built the pyramids were not slaves, and they were well compensated for their work, and maybe in the form of food or and drinks, but they were compensated, so they were not slaves. Interesting fact. So let's talk about the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid is was built is a tomb of the 4th dynasty pharaoh Khufu. It was built in early 26th century BC. It took around 27 years to complete, and it is the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and only one to remain largely intact. So ह्या picture मध्ये तुम्हाला दिसेल comparison with the map how the pyramid looks like. The last picture you see this part, that is the entrance to the tomb. Actually आम्ही गेलो तेव्हा tomb बंद होतं, त्याच्यामुळे we couldn't enter the Great Pyramid. We did, however, enter some pyramids in the Saqqara complex, so we were happy about that. But this one was particularly, for some reason, was closed at the time that we had been there. But it has big chamber, and it's very well decorated and restored by the Egyptian government. So if you do go there, it does have extra entry fees though, so just so you know. But if you do go there and if it's open, you'll be in the Great Pyramid. The Pyramid of Khafra was built between 2600 and 2500 BC. Khafra was he built his pyramid next to his father's pyramid. And Khafra ruled Egypt for 56 years. He left behind a memory as a cruel leader. This is what I found out, but we don't know that for sure. An Egyptian will deny that, of course. But that's the story behind Khafra. It's all in the family, all the pyramids. So the Giza Plateau has these camel rides, and they are totally worth it. I mean, definitely for pictures and to get closer to the pyramids. Absolutely enjoy the camel ride. We all took them. The Pyramid of Menkaure is the smallest pyramid among the 3 pyramids. It serves as a tomb to the 4th dynasty Egyptian pharaoh Menkaure. The core is red granite, casing is limestone, and height is 65 meters. The Sphinx, another main attractions to visit Cairo or Egypt is the Sphinx. Amazing structure, and just मला आठवतंय की I had this idea of Sphinx being like this really huge structure, but when you just go there, you feel like, oh, you know, there is the Sphinx, but somehow in my mind it was very large, but it doesn't seem to be large when you go there. So just to give you an idea, it is about 20 meters in height and the length is 75 meters. Materials are limestone. Why was the Sphinx built? So it is believed that the Sphinx protects the pyramids. It has a head of a human, the body of a lion, wings of a falcon, and it was built by Khafre. So it's right in front of the Khafre pyramid. So very interesting to see it. आमच्या गाईडने आम्हाला सांगितलं, this is the inside story of the Sphinx, which you will not find on the internet, is that they had a lot of stone left. The stone was brought from Aswan on boats to Giza, and they had a lot of stone left and they didn't know what to do with it, but they thought that this would be a good use of this stone to build a Sphinx and kind of help protect. It's also from a Greek god, so which kind of helps protect the structure. So that's why they build it according to our guide. So you will not find this story on the internet. So I thought it was very important to talk about papyrus. It's a paper invented by ancient Egyptians, made by plant. sheets of paper press करून they make this paper. Um, although the true paper making process has been documented in China, but Egyptians did use this as paper, the papyrus, and a lot of paintings are sold on this kind of paper outside of the pyramid complex. But be careful, because a lot of people told us that's fake papyrus. So be careful if you go. आता ह्याच्यामध्ये आमच्या टूरवर they took us to this place where they were selling the original papyrus, and that was a bit expensive, and we should not have brought this painting because we don't have space for it, but we still got one because they're very good salesmen. So be careful if you don't want to buy one, not to engage in a whole lot of conversation with them. But it was interesting to see. The hieroglyphics, absolutely interesting. A combination of various elements of about 1,000 characters. It's a formal writing system of the Egyptians. And it still has a modern use in Latin, Greek, and Arabic. It is ancestral to those languages, so very interesting. Here are some of the symbols. This picture is how they have a door. In most of the tombs, they have the door. This is for the soul to escape after the mummies have been put in the tombs. How are they going to escape? So this is for afterlife, for the soul to escape and go into the afterlife. And here are more symbols on the walls. Cairo झाल्यावर, त्या दिवशी आमचं Cairo finish झालं, and then we started, like I said, we took like a night train to Aswan. I hope you remember, it's like on the south side on Nile. And we just took a train. Main things that we wanted to see was the unfinished obelisk, the Philae Temple, and then we had a Nubian dinner, and I'll talk about these. So the unfinished obelisk, it is the largest known obelisk. It's located in the northern region of the stone quarries of ancient Egypt in Aswan. The creation of this was ordered by Hatshepsut, 1508 to 1458 BC, as a complement to a Lateran obelisk, which is originally in Karnak Temple. But the problem happened was that the unfinished obelisk, I'm sorry, I think I went ahead. The unfinished obelisk was nearly 1/3 larger than any ancient Egyptian obelisk, and it kind of broke while they were carving it. So they had to abandon the project. Had it been erected and used, it would have measured around 41.75 meters and would have weighed as much as about 200 African elephants. So that's the interesting fact about it. But people do go see it. I do not think we had the time to go see it. So that's why we didn't get to see it. But the cracks appeared, and it is an important monument. So a lot of people go and see it. Now we are going to talk about the Philae Temple. These are some of the pictures. We have to take a boat to go to the Philae Temple. The Philae Temple was built for the mother of pharaohs, Isis, in the middle of River Nile. Philae in Greek, or Pilak in ancient Egyptian, means the end, which describes the southernmost part of Egypt. The temple of Philae was nearly lost underwater because there was a high Aswan dam that was built in 1960s. Fortunately, Egyptian government and UNESCO they decided that this temple is so precious that it needs to be saved. And it is an engineering marvel because they pumped out the water from this temple, and every stone block of the temple complex was labeled and it removed to be reassembled like a jigsaw puzzle on higher ground at the Agilka Island. So we have to take a boat to Agilka Island and then we get to see this temple, which is just amazing. The temple walls contain scenes of Isis bringing Osiris back to life. And that's a very interesting story. Isis collected all Osiris's parts and got him together, and then he came back to life, and then they had Horus, and they gave birth to Horus. So it's a very, very one of the most beautiful temples, and thankfully it was saved from destruction. The Nubian Dinner. We traveled to an island to eat dinner prepared by a Nubian family in their home. The fun part was that they had a live crocodile in the house veranda. And then also Nubian villages have houses where they have a crocodile hanging at the top of the, like at the entrance at the door. जसं आपण तोरण hang करतो तसं they have a small skeleton of a crocodile hanging outside their door. It was very interesting to see. But Nubian dinner was so much fun. It was a group dinner, so we really enjoyed it. Chicken, rice, soup. The very famous facade of Abu Simbel. This is another reason why, one of the biggest reasons for us to travel to Egypt. सकाळी आम्ही 3 वाजता उठलो, 3ची बस होती. Now we have to take this bus, travel 3 to 4 hours to reach Abu Simbel, although there is an airport there. So so that is very, a lot of people take a flight there so that they can save time. This temple took like 20 years to build, and is one of the most beautiful temples in Egypt. These are the statues that are inside the temple. These are the statues of Ramses that are outside the temple. This one statue was damaged by earthquake. In these statues, Ramses II wears double crown. He wears the crown for Upper as well as Lower Egypt. So again, just so you know, Upper Egypt is the southern part of Egypt and Lower Egypt is the northern part of Egypt. And at that time, Ramses was ruling entire Egypt, which was a great feat at the time. So he wears a double crown in these statues. The relocation, I'm sorry, again. The relocation of these statues, as well as the whole temple, I think took about, the temple took about 20 years to build. The relocation took 4 years, and it costs about $300 million in today's value. On October 22nd and February 22nd, the king's birthday is October 22nd. On February 22nd is the day of his coronation and start of the harvest season in Egypt. A unique phenomenon occurs. On these days, the temple opens its door to tourists at 3 a.m. Actually, we just missed it. And I was like, I don't know if I was happy or sad that I missed it because it would have been so crowded. And when these doors open, these statues are illuminated that are inside the temple, except this last statue. This last statue is never illuminated because he is the god of darkness, Theban. So the Egyptians aligned their temples so that the sun illuminates them during certain times. And हे जो तुम्ही बघताय, that is also artificially created so that it's exactly matching the original temple. So again, you can see these numbers even sometimes on these blocks because they were piece by piece करून हे सगळं त्यांनी परत इकडे reassemble केले. Fascinating. So there are 2 temples in this. Abu Simbel is of course the UNESCO World Heritage Site. The temples were built by Ramses II. They're very close to Sudan border. Approximately built at 1264 BC. The temples are dedicated to the sun god. There is the next temple that is right beside the temple that we just saw is of Queen Nefertari, his favorite and his most beautiful queen of Egypt. It took 2 decades to complete, like I said, and most of these temple paintings have it celebrates the victory of Ramses II over Hittites. So most of it, and I think the painting that we got from Egypt is also for Ramses II because he's the glorified king of Egypt. Had to take a group picture at Abu Simbel, and this is our group. And I have to say, we had a great time with our tour. So this is the cruise. It's a Felucca cruise. Felucca cruise is a traditional Egyptian boat. आणि तुम्ही बघितलंच असाल, मी आणि मंदार we shared our space with these 6 people, and they were fun to share the space with. And the fun part about this was, and you can see some of the boats here. These were our boats, the 2 of them. We had a tugboat that attached behind one of these because these boats these feluccas don't contain bathrooms. So if you have to go to the bathrooms, you have to, like an elementary school kid, raise your hand and they will have the tugboat by you, and then you have to use the bathroom and come back to the boat. And then you have to sleep right here and share the space with all these people. It was fun for 2 nights. We stopped at 2 islands on the Nile, the Elephantine and the Kitchener Island. The food was fantastic because it was very fresh and the crew prepared the food for us. They prepared breakfast, they had morning coffee, lunch and dinner. We swam in the Nile, we jumped from the boat. I think Nile is about 35 feet. So you can easily jump from a height of the boat and can swim and dive, no problem. And it's very clean in the upper Egypt, which is again the south. By Cairo, it is kind of dirty, so I do not recommend you swim in the Nile near Cairo. But by Aswan, it's very clean, so you can swim. There was a lot of local music and dance because all these men sang in African अरेबिक भाषेमध्ये ते डान्स करत, आय मीन म्युझिक गाणी करत हे करत होते आणि डान्स पण करत होते, गाणी गात होते आणि डान्स करत होते. सो इट वॉज अ लॉट ऑफ फन. Another thing that we did is buy goods from locals. And I said, like I said, the interesting fact of living with in the group of 8 and having no bathroom right away in the cruise ship. So we visited these 3 temples, Edfu, Komombo, and Luxor. Komombo is dedicated to the crocodile god Sobek. Edfu is one of the largest and best preserved temples in Egypt. It's dedicated to the falcon god Horus. This temple was built over 180 years from 237 BC to 57 BC. And of course, one of my favorites is the Luxor temple. We'll talk more about. तुम्हाला इकडे crocodile museum दिसतंय. And then this is the temple. It is located on the west bank of the Nile in Upper Egypt. The city was known as Kion in Hellenistic period. It has the important scenes and inscriptions of the sacred drama, which related the age-old. There was a conflict between Horus and Seth. So all those paintings are depicted to certain conflicts. So as you can see, some paintings are all about the conflict, some paintings are about victories, some paintings are about day-to-day activities. So each temple had a specific story to tell. This is Komombo. Komombo is a double temple dedicated to Sobek and Horus. So you can see the falcon here. I think this is one of the best preserved falcon structure in Egypt. The temple was built during 322 BC and 395 AD. It's a beautiful temple as well. The Luxor Temple. Um, it is on the east bank of Nile. It was constructed in 1400 BC. This is probably where many of the pharaohs of Egypt were crowned. To the rear, at the end of the temple, are the chapels built by Amenhotep III and Alexander. And there are some other parts of the temple that were built by Tutankhamun and Ramses II. This temple is extremely beautiful. It has a pretty much um, uh, undestroyed obelisk right at the entrance, which is very, very beautiful. There was second obelisk right here that is, I think, either given by the Egyptian government to somewhere or somebody, or I think the guide had told us something about it where they had given it to somebody or it was stolen. But काहीतरी होतं त्या दिवशी and we only could see this temple for 20 minutes and I could have stayed for another 20. But it is a very beautiful temple. The Karnak temple is the I could not discuss about this temple. Initially, I wasn't going to put that in, but it is one of the most visited historical sites after the pyramids of Giza. It's a huge temple. Only 1 out of 4 parts is open to public, and 30 pharaohs contributed to this building, and the complex is huge. The deities range from earliest worship to those worshipped much later. The tall columns have capitals that weigh around 70 tons, and they must have used levers. A true marvel. We do not know how they were able to get those columns up there that were so heavy. Beautiful temple. Highly recommend. What's in this picture? There was a wedding right outside of the hotel, and so I decided to show some of the local life in Egypt. And this is as we are getting ready to go on the hot air balloon ride. A hot air balloon ride in Luxor is one of the 5 best hot air balloon rides in the world. So if you do go to Luxor, you have to, it's a no-brainer. You have to do it. None of us missed it. So this is the view from the top. You see a lot of archaeological sites, the Valley of the Queens. You also see the beautiful sunrise right here. So what's on the west bank of the Nile? The Valley of the Kings, the Temple of Queen Hatshepsut, the Colosseum of Memnon, and the hot air balloon ride, of course, was also from the west bank of Nile. Here we are traveling. We took a small boat to go from the east side of Luxor to the west. Here we are at the Valley of Kings. Beautiful place, lot of tombs. The Valley of Kings की खासियत अशी है कि pharaohs did not want their tombs to be robbed, so they were kind of hidden. There are still so many tombs that have not been found, and they're still excavating. The tomb of Tutankhamun is here. Unfortunately, his mummy is not. And it takes special entrance fees into the Tutankhamun tomb. And we had already seen a lot of Tutankhamun here in the Field Museum, so we did not go to that tomb. But I know a lot of people who did. And ह्याच्यात one of the tombs, you can see all the paintings. There is a lot of stories behind all of this. It shows birthing. It shows a lot of stories of battle, all of those things as paintings. And this is the sons of Ramses II. So Ramses II had many sons, and look at all the chambers. They go deep, and sometimes you सगळे excavate नाही झाले, so they will let you go into up to here, and then they will say this is not excavated yet, but they know that it's in there. So there's a lot of excavation still going on in the Valley of the Kings. The Temple of Queen Hatshepsut. Again, I was not going to talk about this, but it has to be talked about because it is a masterpiece in ancient architecture. It was founded in the 15th century BC. She was the second historically confirmed female pharaoh after Sobekneferu. She altered her image. तिचे just हे आहेत. This is her right in front of the temple, and she has a beard. She actually put a beard and converted herself into masculine figure so that she could get respect at that time, because pharaohs were supposed to be men. She is the queen who became the king. Um, after after this, we took a train from Luxor to Cairo overnight again. And by the way, these trains are very comfortable. Berth hote दोन, वर खाली sink होतं. There was a bathroom in India Circus. In the cabin, there was a bathroom, so that was fine. Service पण चांगली होती. दुसऱ्या दिवशी breakfast होता. Breakfast, I have to say, was not that great. It was bread and butter and tea or coffee, something like that. Nothing great, but it served its purpose. Train journey was very comfortable, no problem at all. And once we reached Cairo, we saw these are all the things that we checked out. Hane Khalili Bazaar was amazing. We did a lot of shopping here. And we'll talk about more about these as well. The Mosque of Muhammad Ali is on the hill, so you get great city views. You can see the city of Cairo. Its architecture is very similar to Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. If anybody has seen it, it's very similar structure. This picture depicts koshari. Koshari is a very famous food to eat in Egypt. त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला garbanzo beans, there is a sauce, some onions, आणि pasta असतो, and you just mix it up and eat it, put some hot sauce in there. It's pretty delicious. So I highly recommend a good koshari food in Egypt. This is the church in Cairo, Coptic church. You will see Coptic crosses a lot. Although 95% at least are Sunni Muslims. In Egypt, there are still some practicing Christians. So this is one of the churches that we visited. It's a really old church. And this is the Egyptian museum. The Egyptian museum is filled with artifacts. आणि ते तुमची बॅग जाताना येताना दोन्ही वेळेस चेक करतात, just to make sure you don't have anything or take something. But it's very interesting museum. Of course, you cannot miss it once you go there. But they're also building another museum because they cannot hold all the contents of all the archaeological figures that they find in one museum. So they're building another museum. And unfortunately, a lot of things are being moved to the new museum. But because of COVID, when we went, it wasn't open. So these artifacts belong are from Tutankhamun's tomb. But I have to say, I did see more artifacts here in the Field Museum when his exhibit came here to Chicago. But his mask is, you cannot take picture of his mask. It's a beautiful mask. And his sarcophagus is still there. Now we'll move on to Jordan. And this is a picture of Jordan, just to give you an idea how we traveled. So we took the flight from Cairo to Amman. From Amman, we went to Jerash, Jlun. And from there, we went to Wadi Rum, near Aqaba, and then to Petra. So why Jordan? Jordan is home to more than 100,000 archaeological, religious, and tourist sites. Just to give you an idea, one Jordanian dinar is 1.41 USD. Culture is mostly, again, 98% are Sunni Muslims. Men dress in dishdasha, and the women have embroidered dresses and have hijabs. But Jordan is considered to be more secular. It's very much give me a European feel compared to Egypt. Egypt seemed to be more conservative, more Islamic for me, versus Jordan. Jordan was more open culture. I could wear a dress there, no problem. Even in Egypt, you can wear a dress, but most of the women are fully covered. Jerash. Jerash is filled with stunning sites of Greco-Roman ruins. The area has been inhabited since the Bronze Age. Very important are the rare human remains that date up to 7500 BC that were found here. A lot of it was destroyed by the Galilee earthquake. It has a well-preserved site of Roman architecture outside Italy, and therefore it's referred to as the Pompeii of the Middle East. Very, very interesting. I guess human remains that were found are creating a buzz in the historians' minds right now. The earthquake destroyed large part of the ancient city. It is one of the best preserved sites, especially this arch. So it's one of the most visited sites in Jordan is the Jerash. Amman. Amman is the capital city and the largest city of Jordan. We visited the citadel, the amphitheater, and then we also visited the close by Ajloon Castle ruins. This is the amphitheater that we visited. This is just one of my friends from the tour groups. She was taking pictures, and this is just they were selling candy on the streets, and this is a picture of a mosque. And azan vasto, and people do pray. So Wadi Rum. Wadi Rum, or the Valley of the Moon, is located in southern Jordan. आम्ही एका डेझर्ट कॅम्प मध्ये राहिलो होतो. काइंड ऑफ it was rustic, to say the least. And and then we went on in the evening. We enjoyed a traditional Jordanian dinner. There was music and dance in the camp, and there was campfire. We'll talk more about that. But when we went outside, we could see some polygraph figures on the stones there of humans and antelopes. It was a trade route in Jordan, so it's very important. ठिकठिकाणी तुम्हाला बेडॉइन कॅम्प्स दिसतात तिथे in Wadi Rum. It's very interesting to see. It is a filming location for Red Planet, Lawrence of Arabia, Mission to Mars, because of its red sand, Krish 3, and The Martian. Here are all the pictures of Wadi Rum. Here are all the people that tied the turban, the Arabic kind of turban, and I even have a video of Mandar getting it done from one of the locals. Everybody does it. And here sand dunes hote, people climbed. I did not. I just took a picture. This is the sunset, and this is the desert safari behind an SUV that we took. It's a fun place to be, and it's very beautiful. ह्या पिक्चर मध्ये you can see they prepare the food under the ground. So त्यांनी ground मधून ते बाहेर काढलंय, and they have chicken that is very moist, and rice, and a lot of I forget the name of the yogurt, kind of raita style असतं. It's very good food that we enjoyed in the camp. And then this is the camel rides, and we saw the sunrise at Wadi Rum, which I have many pictures of that I couldn't share many of them. त्याच्यानंतर we are going to talk about Petra, one of the biggest reasons for us to visit Jordan. There is a historical and archaeological city in southern Jordan. It was inhabited by the Nabateans in the early 7000 BC. The Al-Khazaneh, or the treasury, is believed to be the mausoleum of Nabatean king Arytas IV. Nabateans were way ahead of their time, very skillful in harvesting rainwater, with agriculture, stone carving. It's a beautiful ancient city that is unbelievable. It was a major trading hub, and then it got really rich. Access to the city is through a 1.2 kilometer gorge called the Sphinx. आतमध्ये गेल्यावर there is an inner city. There is Pharaoh's castle, the triumphal arch. There is the amphitheater there. It's fascinating to see. We'll see some pictures of this coming ahead. This is the entrance to Petra. These are the little tombs of people who are probably not as rich. And then this is the Sphinx, the 1.2 kilometer walk. It's gorgeous. I don't know if anybody of you have seen the Antelope Canyon in California. Reminded me very much of that. It's small in some places and then gets bigger in some. Beautiful place. And here you can see the treasury a little bit. And then this is the treasury. There are many, there is a camel right here parked in front of the treasury. Treasury मध्ये जायला allowed नाहीये, but you can be outside, take pictures. And this is the monastery. The monastery la me tari, I took a donkey. I sat behind a donkey and went up there. Many people do that, but Mandar and some of our friends just climbed the whole thing, and me and my friends just took the donkey because we were just really tired walking around, and it was still sunny. And these again are little tombs that you can see. There is another climb. There are many climbs in Petra, and you can spend a couple of days in Petra. We spent about a day and a half. This is another climb where you go all the way up and you can see the treasury from up top, and it's a good picture spot. The Dead Sea. That was one fascination for us, to swim in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is a salt lake. It's a salt lake, bordered by Jordan to the east and Israel to the west. By the way, the Jordanians called Israel troublemakers because of all the history that goes between the two countries. They believe that Israel has claimed some of their land, things like that. But we can talk about that, later in the Bhraman Gatha group. But the shores here are at the lowest land-based elevation on Earth. It's one of the saltiest water bodies on Earth with almost 10 times more salt than regular seawater. So you can easily float here, as you can see Mandar floating here. And I was floating and I was not able to stand up. Mandar had to help me stand up. की त्याची buoyancy आहे. So it's supposed to have a lot of minerals and is supposed to be a cure for many things. So I've heard that the king and queen of Jordan and Egypt used to float in this sea just because it's supposed to be very therapeutic. आणि लोक मड लावतात अंगाला and then they go in there just to cure themselves of certain diseases. Dining with the locals, one of the best experiences that you can have in Jordan. They will welcome you with coffee, and then we had mansa, which is the national dish of Jordan. It's usually made of lamb, but ours was made of chicken and fermented dried yogurt. This was the other dish that I was talking about, the fermented dried yogurt. And it's served over rice or bulgur, and it's very delicious. It's very much like our biryani. Chicken biryani सारखंच लागतं, फक्त थोडेसे I think spices are a little different. That's another thing that we shopped in Egypt and Jordan, is we got some of the spices from that area. They आपल्यासारखंच असतं. They have a typical hall, kitchen, hanging out area for the cousins. Very much the culture is very similar to Indian culture. And this was our last day in Jordan. We had a really nice dinner with the whole group, as you can see here. And then here is tea. There's a lot of tea places. So I got a bunch of tea for all my friends. Really enjoyed that. खूपच आवडला मला. Jordan's shopping, Jordan's food, and the people of Jordan. This is just a quote from Mark Twain. And since travel is fatal to prejudice, we hope that we all get to travel a lot. And thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you really enjoyed it. तुम्हाला जरी काही questions असेल तर please I'll address them on the Bhraman Gatha group. This had to be done this way because I work until late on Tuesday nights. But I really enjoyed doing this presentation, and I'm hopefully I can answer any questions you have on the group. Again, wishing you all a very, very happy Diwali and a prosperous new year ahead. नमस्कार.
अरे वा वा वा, खूपच छान झालं ग अनघा. खूप वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टी ऐकायला मिळाल्या. मला प्रश्न आहे पण मी तो तुला मंचावरच विचारीन, पण आता वेळ
Thank you,
पण झालेली
वैशाली.
I do want to thank both Anagha and Mandar for this wonderful session and providing all the photographs and taking us on their tour virtually to these ancient lands. You have now whetted our appetite to visit these lands.
I hope you get to visit. It's
Yeah,
fun.
no, definitely. Also, thanks to Kavita Pura for a great flyer that she made to promote our event over here. Of course,
Thank
thanks
you.
to Ulka and Prasad for going above and beyond.
And for the
Because
help
this
with
was
technology as well.
exactly,
Thank you.
it was a different part we did this time. And of course, thanks to Kavita for being our gracious host.
हो, थँक्यू.
Thanks,
Uh,
Kavita.
माय प्लेजर.
Yeah,
खूप
and
छान झालं अनघा.
Mandar,
मस्त
oh,
आलं.
thank you. Thank you.
छानच होतं.
Mandar helped me with technology because that was a little bit hard for me.
हा, नाही आणि होतच ग असं, आणि शेवटी आपल्याला जेव्हा करायचं असतं तेव्हा काही ना काहीतरी होतच. डोळ्यासमोर प्रश्न येतात. आय डू वॉन्ट टू से वन थिंग बिफोर वी गो, की आपलं पुढचं जे सेशन असेल भ्रमण गाथाचं ते शेवटचं सेशन असेल. कारण डिसेंबरचा आपला जो आपण नेहमी महिन्याला एक सेशन करतो महिन्याच्या चौथ्या मंगळवारी, आणि दॅट फॉर डिसेंबर कम्स राईट इन द लास्ट वीक ऑफ डिसेंबर, when everybody's family is home. We want to give them that time back. We don't want them to have to choose between this. So November will be our last session. तर त्या पुढच्या सेशनला शेवटचा प्रोग्राम आहे. मग सगळ्यांनी उपस्थित राहून आमचा आणि मंचाचा शेवटची सांगता करायला आय होप यू विल ऑल बी देअर टुगेदर विथ अस. अँड थँक्यू व्हेरी मच एव्हरीबडी. हॅव अ गुड नाईट.
थँक्यू.